Hi guys! Since we all have a little bit more time on our hands, I'm going to show you how to make lasagna roll-ups. This is something that you can get the entire family involved in. It's super easy to make and you should have most of the ingredients already stocked in your pantry. I'm using ground beef for this, but you can use ground turkey, ground chicken, sausage. You can even make this vegetarian by using spinach, kale, mushrooms. Honestly, the possibilities are endless. I am going to be using a jarred sauce. I always keep that on hand just for times like this when I'm stuck at home and don't have time to run out to the store to grab ingredients. So it always comes in handy. I highly recommend keeping a good jarred sauce in your pantry at all times. We're going to start by chopping up onion and garlic. You can use as much or as little as you would like with both of these ingredients. I'm going with half an onion and 2 cloves of garlic. I'm making enough to fill a 9 by 14 casserole dish, but this will also fit an 8 by 13 pan. Set the onion aside, then smash and chop up your garlic. Now you can get the remainder of the ingredients together. We have an Italian seasoning blend, black pepper, the onion and garlic that we chopped earlier. I'm using pink Himalayan salt, which is what I typically cook with, and brown sugar. You will also need your protein. I'm using ground beef and a good jarred sauce. Oil a medium to large size saucepan. You want to use something that's high enough so that your sauce doesn't bubble over. Once the pan is hot, add your onions. I cook this down for about 3 to 4 minutes, just until slightly translucent. Add the ground beef and coarsely break it up. I don't like to break this up too much because I like to have chunks of meat in my lasagna. Season the meat with salt and pepper. When the meat is 50% cooked through, add the garlic. I should also mention that I'm using a lean ground beef. If you're using something with a little more fat and want to strain that out before adding the sauce, go ahead and do so now. This next step is optional, but I do like to dilute the tomato sauce a bit by adding 1/4 cup of water to the jar, shaking it around, and then adding it to the sauce. At this point, you want to lower the heat and stir everything to combine. Season the sauce with sugar and Italian seasoning. I don't like anything too tart, which is why I add sugar. I think that it adds a nice balance to the dish. And of course, for umami flair, we need to add a few drops of fish sauce. This is optional, but I highly recommend it. I seriously wish you guys could smell this. I would totally take this out and eat it with rice if I wasn't making lasagna. Go ahead and taste and adjust the sauce if needed. I'm adding red chili flakes just because I like it a little bit spicy. I'm also going to be adding spinach just because I had some on hand and didn't want it to go to waste. At this point, you can go ahead and remove from heat. The sauce does need to cool completely before we can make the lasagna rolls. This is a great sauce to make a couple days ahead of time just because you can refrigerate it and then take it out when you're ready to use. Grate your cheeses. I'm using leftover blocks of sharp cheddar, mozzarella, and Parmesan. The Parmesan you'll want to grate into 2 separate piles. Some of it is going into the ricotta and the other will get sprinkled on top of the lasagna. Add the ricotta to a bowl. The texture of this can be a bit too grainy for me, so I like to add a couple spoonfuls of Greek yogurt or sour cream. Season with garlic powder and onion powder and then fold in some Parmesan cheese. Cover and refrigerate until ready to use. When you're ready to build a lasagna, bring a large pot of salted water to a boil. This recipe will make about 12 pieces of lasagna rolls, but I always cook a couple extra just in case. Follow the cooking instructions on your box of lasagna minus 2 minutes. This is going into the oven to bake, so it'll finish cooking off in there. I'm always multitasking, so while that's cooking, go ahead and chop up some parsley for garnish. Rinse the noodles with cold water. The noodles should be cool to the touch and pliable. My technique has always been to drape the noodles on the pot. If you're doing it over the sink like I am, make sure that the noodles don't touch the bottom of the sink. Lay lasagna noodles on a work surface. Spread a couple spoonfuls of your meat mixture on the bottom of your pan to prevent sticking. Starting on one end, spread 1 spoonful of ricotta on each noodle. As you make this dish more, you'll find a technique that works efficiently for you. And don't worry about being super neat with this. Lasagna is so forgiving and almost looks better when it's a little messy. Next comes the meat, same process. Sprinkle on a thin layer of cheese. This should be your mozzarella cheddar blend. Now for the fun part, carefully roll up the noodles. You want to make sure that you're rolling up kind of tight, but also leaving room for it to expand while it's baking. I like to lay my rolls flat, but I've seen people roll them and then lay them in the pan seam side up. You can fit a lot more in that way, but I do it this way because I like more surface space for sauce. Repeat the process using up your ricotta mixture. Keep in mind that you will have a little bit of meat filling left over to top off your lasagna. Use the remainder of the meat to top off your rolls. Top off with any leftover cheese. Don't forget about that Parmesan we set aside for the top as well. Cover with foil before putting in the oven to bake. Once the lasagna is finished baking, remove it from the oven, set your broiler on high, and carefully peel off the foil. The lasagna and cheese will be nice and bubbly. I know it's tempting to want to eat this now, but setting it in the broiler will give it a nice golden color. Nice and bubbly. Top with parsley and dig in. Here it comes. See how easily it lifts because it's an individual piece of lasagna? I like to have my food spicy, so I'm adding my favorite Trader Joe's ghost pepper shaker. I'm gonna try to cut this so you guys can see it. This is extra cheesy. It's a huge bite. Ooh, it's gonna be too hot. Mmm. Look at that piece. Piping hot. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. Please tag me on Facebook or Instagram if you guys are giving this a try. I'll see you in my next video. Stay safe. Bye.